Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spice Talk. Today's topic is Edge to Cloud. This podcast is sponsored by Intel. However, the opinions are my own and don't represent Intel's business positions or strategies. Our special guest today is Parviz Peiravi, who is a global CTO Financial Services at Intel. Hello, Parviz. Delighted to meet you.
Nice meeting you too, and thank you for hosting me today.
Yeah, so what is your backstory, Parviz? Did you know growing up that you would end up working in technology?
Well, if you ask me now, I said yes, but back then I didn't. So what happened was I was, 4 or 5 years old. I started getting into technology. And what I mean by that, I'll start breaking up electrical equipments and things and basically getting into it to see what it is inside. And of course, my mom wasn't happy. My dad was supporting. And throughout that, and I started getting more and more into actually understanding different technologies, fixing things that broken, such as hair dryer, starting with hair dryers and some of the small electronic appliances like radio, and graduate into vacuum cleaner and washer dryers. So anything that broke, that it was me to fix it. And of course, I didn't do that all the time. I even make it worse sometimes. But I learned a lot that I love technology. And in addition to that, I grew up with Star Trek, so Captain Kirk. That was it still is my favorite, basically, hero. And the love of the sky, love of flying to the out of the space and exploring universe has always been with me. So I think I knew I'm going to be a technologist in heart, but it took some time to get there.
That's fascinating. I'm glad you are persistent with your interest growing up. So let's talk about Edge to Cloud today. Right? As I was actually co-hosting the Intel Innovation event last October, I got a front row seat to Intel's superpowers and was in awe of your innovation, especially your thought leadership in the Edge to Cloud ecosystem and your ability to tailor technology to customers' unique needs. So what are the 3 things the CIOs and CTOs really need to know about Edge to Cloud?
So one thing I want to clear up is that the definition of edge is different, especially in financial services, from segment to segment. What I mean by that, in insurance company versus capital market, security exchange, retail banking, and payment, basically segment, payment providers. So what we are talking from edge perspective and what CXOs needs to understand of the relationship between edge and cloud is depends on their environment. They really need to understand what needs to be operated effectively and independently at the edge with maybe minimal interaction with the cloud. That's the number one definition of use case for edge to cloud, understanding the role of cloud and edge, what requires to be independently running different job and providing services. From there, you get into understanding what computation, what compute infrastructure you need, data and transportation mechanism you need. And wrapping around that is going to be security, resiliency, flexibility, and scalability needs to be built in that environment. And how we can help that, frankly, we have done a lot of work in this area, as you mentioned, and we will be happy working with any customers interested to understand the dynamics of from edge to cloud or cloud to edge, depends on their environment.
That's super important, right? You said you first need to understand the role before you go and implement or really take advantage of edge and cloud. There are actually a lot of terms, right, being talked about. In one of my recent blogs, I shared that with ubiquitous compute, right, soon we will all have thousands of devices at our immediate disposal. And by the end of this decade, there will be the potential for every human to have 1 petaflop of compute and 1 petabyte of data, less than 1 millisecond away. Wow, right? Can you really put these almost unimaginable numbers in perspective for the audience here?
Of course, I try my best. So according to recent basically survey that I read from Cisco, by 2030, we will have 500 billion connected devices. That's a lot of devices that is connected. And that create an basically data highway, information highway that connect all of us together. Now, the important factor is that how do we get there? As you mentioned, Intel has been focusing on developing technologies, and we have been innovating for last 50 plus years. And we continue doing that in multiple areas. Number one, we continue evolving throughout and with Moore's Law. As you know, Moore's Law is about every 2 years that you are doubling the computing capacity. So that's one to help us to get there. Secondly, we focused on creating a different aspect of computing, such as quantum computing. So with that, we are going to be able to open up new decades of computing that rely on totally different systems architecture, software applications, and the use cases. So we get there by not only evolving the current architecture, but developing new technology and totally different architectures. Now, in addition to that, we need to not only focus on compute perspective, but also dealing with data. As you know, as you mentioned as well, data is going to play a significant role in everything we do going forward. So understanding how we can collect data, store data, process data, analyze data, and deliver that in a meaningful, basically services to customers, it's going to be a key aspect of this development going forward. With this massive compute capacity, massive data that is created every day. And we, in addition to dealing with data, we need to figure out how to move it, where to move it. So that means we need to create a vehicle transport to enable us to move data where it should be and also deliver the services based on that. So silicon photonic technology and future technologies that we are working on beyond 400 gigabit per second capabilities that we work on right now, it's going to enable us not only have a compute, but also move data in where it should be to be analyzed and provide different services. Now, let me ask you a question. And that is, what do you do with that capabilities that you just described? Ability to have a 1 petabyte of compute and 1 petabytes of data in your hand. As a customers, as a consumers, what would you do with that?
Well, you better have the capability to turn those data into actionable insights, right? For you to really make meaningful decision and to accelerate either growth of your business or do something that you really would like to do, or free you up to do things that you were not able to do before, and then so that you can devote your energy to things that really more value add or activities.
Exactly, and that's where we are, frankly. We are the building infrastructure that supports such capabilities and democratize accessibility to data and analytics that you can get to that actionable insights.
Exactly.
And by mean that, we are expanding capabilities beyond just simple actionable insight into capabilities such as holograms. Hologram doctors, lawyers, others, that's different means. When you can move large amount of data, when you can compute large amount of or analyze large amount of data, you can create totally new, different type of interfaces that help people in general to enhance their life experience, whether for entertainment, for specific needs, business need, and etc. So new capabilities and application that serve the need of both business and personal enhancement.
Yeah, that's profound, right? Technology would defeat its purpose if it doesn't serve the greater needs of humankind, right?
Absolutely.
So Gartner actually is making some dramatic leaps, right, in cloud and edge computing for financial services, an industry that has actually, as you mentioned earlier, traditionally been subject to a significant number of regulations. So what does this mean for small, mid-sized, and large customers? How can they make the leap to edge and cloud?
Every time I talk about technology in general, when I talk to financial institutions, CXOs, they ask me, used to be 2 questions, now is 3 questions. One is about how cloud or AI or related technology can help me to grow my business and increase revenue. Second is always been, how can I reduce the cost? And the last one that recently gaining more traction and become a hot topic is, how can it help me to reduce my carbon footprint, dealing with ESG, environmental, social, and governance, and sustainability goals. So if we take a look at those and seeing that the cloud computing can significantly help them to deal with sustainability and ESG goals in terms of managing the carbon footprint, significantly reducing it, because they have more effective environment to manage for majority of customers, not all. There are customers today that have very efficient data centers, but for majority, especially when we're talking about a small and mid-sized company that they don't have that level of technical expertise or technical know-how and infrastructure capabilities. Cloud computing bringing that level of ease of use and efficiency. In addition, that enable them to take advantage of a faster time to market. One of the key aspects of fast-paced technology society that we live on is that we constantly jump in from one technology to another. For small and medium companies, it's very hard to follow. So cloud computing, in addition to that, artificial intelligence, enable them to provide new services much faster to market. And for largest institutions, reducing costs, one of the areas that I talked about, how they can reduce the cost by using cloud and AI and newer technology, is that they can take advantage of these technologies for increased efficiency of traditional processes that they have. I don't know if you have heard about robotic process automation, one of the technologies that can help them to actually use AI to increase efficiency. And it works across industries, is not for financial services. Now, from an edge perspective, is that how we can bring different type of services to the customers where they need it, when they need it, at any device that they are utilizing it. And those type of capabilities really helping this customer to be more effective in terms of growing their business by providing differentiated value. That time to market that I mentioned, or faster time to market, is really important key on both in edge and cloud. That using modern technology in the cloud and edge to deliver this differentiated value to the customers in a different environment and circumstances. So these are the capabilities that they can leapfrog actually utilizing by utilizing edge and cloud technologies in combination.
That's such a salient point, Parviz, right? Not only we bring what the needs or the customer needs, but also bring that one the time they need that. That's really the key, right? And then that's how you can maximize their investment.
Exactly. We are living in a world of customer obsession. That
Absolutely.
We all, whether it doesn't matter which industry we are working on, what profession, we are always want to provide better services to customers. And that's why both cloud and edge is going to help us in that area.
Absolutely. So actually for a while, Intel has been considered an ingredient brand. I started noticing the difference lately, right? So what changes have Intel made from a strategic technology direction standpoint?
So the major changes that we have made from a technology perspective is, number one, as you have heard, we have announced recently, we invest $20 billion that in new manufacturing and fab that Intel having basically. And we also focused on creating foundries business, which is focused on advanced manufacturing for silicon design. So that's the fundamental technology that is going to enable us to do many things that we just talked about. So that's one major change. Secondly, we are really working on to designing technology beyond just a CPU that we have been focusing on for a long time. So we focused on developing GPU. We have already FPGA, and we will deliver ASIC technology for all form of computing. We are expanding beyond just CPU and providing those technologies. So that enabled many type of implementation we talk about. Where we're talking about cloud, they can use CPU, GPU, and at the edge, they can use ASIC or some form of FPGA technology that they are more power conservative and they have a very less basically carbon footprint and more capability because they are small devices. So that's from a hardware perspective. And we made a major change in terms of Intel software development technologies. So we invest in heavily on software, and we are investing to work with software community and beyond just the system softwares into higher level application level that we are connecting with the developer community on multiple fronts in these areas. So that's a major change we have done. And something that we haven't changed, but we continue evolving, is customer obsession, as I mentioned to you. So continue expanding our ecosystem partner to deliver broader portfolio of technologies and solutions to solve a different problem for our customers. And last but not least, investing heavily on quantum computing. We have our eyes on quantum computing because that's the next level of computing that we believe is going to change the way we do in next decade.
That's incredible, right? I actually witnessed some of the innovation that you have in place while I was at Intel Innovation last October. I saw the little robot walking by, right? The alliance partnership you've had with FedEx and a few others. Just fascinating to see the amount of innovation and the impact Intel has been already made or is continuing to make. So here's a rapid fire question for you. Can you give us some use case data of how edge to cloud is changing the game for businesses, especially in financial services?
Sure. I mentioned about robotic process automation. That play important role to streamline traditional processes. Now, cloud computing, by bringing new innovative technologies and streamlining computation, both on-prem from a private cloud and into public cloud combination, which is a hybrid multi-cloud architecture, really help out to expand that capabilities and continue supporting and streamlining traditional processes. Next to that is delivering new customer services. As I talked about, when you have data in the right place with the right technology and at the right time for the right purpose, then you are delivering service that customers are really looking for. And this is really, I believe, this is going to help us all in any industry to achieve the goal and utilizing cloud to edge combination technology to change the way we operate our business, to change the way we deliver different services. And again, faster, better, and newer innovative solutions.
So critical.
Example of that in healthcare. So in healthcare, in manufacturing, in agriculture, in retail, as edge and cloud combination, providing advanced analytics, providing basically streamlined processing in insurance companies that they can do underwriting, claim processing much faster than they have done in the past. So revolutionizing the way that we work, they revolutionize the way that we deliver services to customers.
That's absolutely critical. I'm so pleased to see that happening, right? One thing that really resonated with me is Intel's reinvestment in the developer committee, right? So what can the developer world expect from Intel going forward?
We are going to continue investment in open source technologies and working with open source community. So we have been working with Linux Foundation for a long time, and we continue doing that. We also start working with the first vertical industry specific open source community called FinOS, FINOS. And with FinOS, we are trying to understand the need of financial services developer and be able to contribute to the community and expand our basically coverage beyond Linux Foundation on general purpose Linux community. So that's one area that we focus on. We're going to continue expanding. We invest in commercial ISVs, independent software vendors, and expanding the ecosystem. We focused on now with the new generation of low code, no code. And in combination to that, we are working with Intel Capital to invest in the new companies that bring in new innovative solutions to the market. So not only working in collaboration, but invest in the companies through Intel Capital. And in addition to all of those that I mentioned, we are expanding our reach not only to commercial and open source developers, but also into universities, research institutions, that they will be the next generation of developers in the market. So we are addressing the need of professionals and maturing and new gen developers that are coming up to the market later.
Wow, I look forward to talking to you more about these use cases outside of this call down the road. But I mean, I wanted to ask you the last question here, right? What is the one thing you personally will be doing differently and in your work or career in 5 years because of AI and the rapid speed of edge?
So from my perspective is working with financial institutions to understand better the definition of edge for them, apply our Intel technologies, especially with AI at the edge, in insurance environment, as I mentioned, for underwriting claim processing in the field with the agent, in retail banking, working with them on recommendation engine, chatbots, and wealth advisor, that's their edge, in branches, in ATM, in kiosks, and so forth and so on. That's really important for us to understand that and develop a technology and apply current technology to the problem and the challenges they are facing. In addition to that, I will use AI to develop a new innovative ways to increase the efficiency of our products. So we can use AI to basically increase efficiency of software, hardware environment that we are developing today and increasing it going forward. We can use the AI also to govern AI. One of the major problems that we have in financial services is how to govern an AI, how to develop a responsible AI or trustworthy AI environment that we can trust the outcome of AI machines. Right today, we don't have any official guideline and process in place to actually measure it effectively and govern it effectively. So we can use actually AI, like explainable AI technology, to help addressing some of the challenges that AI bring in into the table in terms of managing it effectively, making sure that we are trusting, there is no bias involved. So there is not a lot of development that require for AI technology itself. And I think that's where I'm going to spend time of utilizing AI to solve AI problems and enhancing the capability going forward. And last not least, but again, to get to know our customers better, so we can deliver better product, better services, and solve their business problem. AI and cloud at the edge or at data centers can help us to achieve these goals.
Here are my key takeaways from our conversation today. The edge computing is fast, immediate, and accessible to almost everyone across an organization. This is particularly exciting to me because I believe the greatest moment comes at the crossroad of humanity and technology. This synergy is exactly what we're talking about when we speak of edge. I look forward to seeing Intel's impact of superpowers on geeks. The race to Zetta scale is on. Zetta in 2027. Thank you, Intel, for sponsoring the Spice Talk. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.